Welcome to the Luxine series. This series will have dead times, not so accurate post-production, and a lot of backtracking. This series is meant to be a deep lore analysis and 100% completion of the game. Thanks for your attention. Lasciate ogni speranza o voi che entrate. Hi guys, welcome back to Dante's Hell. I'm Dante or Jack, and again we are back for another episode of Lux in Mortus Spatium. Again with Dead Space Remake, and let's get straight into continuing Chapter 2, Intensive Care. We left off in another place. I had to move back because in impossible mode we don't get our autosaves and need to walk all the way to a save station every time we need to save. So no stopping mid-chapter without running back to a save station. Of course, I usually, if I have to run back to a save station, I tend to record it. So if something happens during our little run back, I have it completely on record. We are not missing a call or a log or an encounter with a new necromorph. In the previous episode, we spent our time translating a lot of phrases written on walls using this strange new form of alphabet that I'm going to try and teach you for when this series is done. But we also discovered a side mission all about Nicole, and that is scientific methods, because we explored Nicole's office and Dr. Kine's office. Also getting a little more, let's say, insight in what a unitologist thinks all year round, all the time. Okay? Now, let's move on to read something I didn't read in the previous episode. That is the hydrazine tank. Hydrazine fuel used in soot thrusters. So basically is a form of gasoline, I suppose, that is used to propel us when we are in zero gravity. Schematics are the blueprints used to upgrade the shop I already talked about. And we have two currently in our inventory. No nodes, so I won't even waste time trying to open the bench. And as I see, we had our save station right here. I will proceed to use it, even though we didn't do anything important, just in case. Because as I remember, the biological lab is going to bring us to a new form of infection from the necromorphs, as Dr. Kine calls them. Let's see. A horrible way to go. We are meeting some survivors, but all of them are sadly dying one after the other. Here we have our first level 3 security clearance. Of course, it's now marked on the map. And before we go in, allow me to give you an idea of what Dr. Mercer observed in that new necromorph that just killed the survivor. Lurker. Personal log. Dr. C. Mercer. Observations. Bioprosthetic clones. Freed from their growth tanks. How gratifying to see them serve a higher purpose than CEC's greed. We hear talking about CAC a lot. And we are going to take our time to talk about them as well. And as you can see from the schematic on screen, they look like children. Because if we get this from Dr. Mercer, from the fandom, we discover that this form of necromorph infection affects especially babies and or small animals like dogs. And the dog version we saw in Dead Space 3. It also states that the only recognizable feature left upon this form of necromorph is the general shape of its skin, the silhouette of the head, and the unchanged limbs dangling at its sides. This covering is stiff and leathery in order to provide protection with a support structure for the many sticky tentacles that now dominate the thoracic cavity and lower abdomen. These tentacles aid the lurker in its locomotion, steadying its movement and allowing it to walk along walls and even creep over ceilings without losing speed. That is because lurkers don't move using their arms like it looks like they move their arms in the original. But here we have the confirmation that they use these tiny tentacles that are very clearly shown in Dead Space Remake, especially during the grab animation. And their limbs are basically not used because these necromorphs lack the physical strength and muscle to kill efficiently. So the infection gives them a boost, especially for long-range attacks and zero-gravity fights. Also, the weapon is coiled in the former pelvic area are 3 long, ropey tentacles, which unfurl when the lurker has spotted a victim. Like the limbs associated with movement, these extremities are strong and flexible, able to whip around and rake opponents with their barbs. The tentacles are able to launch barbs at high speed and accuracy, making the lurker a ranged threat. This specific necromorph is especially, let's say, distasteful when you find yourself in a situation of complete when you are surrounded by other necromorphs, basically. Here are the tentacles, and those are the weak points to aim for the killing of these little baggers, because that's what they deserve to be called. The skin is very hard, and if you want for an achievement, that is to stomp on enemies by killing them, it's very easy to achieve that using a stasis module. Just stasis the lurker and then cut off one of his tentacles and stomp him. Now, these X-rays show the babies in the mother's womb, in this case, and in this case. And on the fandom, there's actually a little article that says that the lurkers, when an infection is starting, can actually start to manifest in a mother's womb. And I hope it didn't happen to anyone around here. But this looks like it pretty much did. We have a text log. Let's read. To Z. Cashwell. From D. Leal. Subject, clerical error. Zoe, specimen 426 is ready for harvest. I was about to notify Alvarez to prep for medical leave, but when I checked the database, I saw Ensign Sable has been moved ahead of her. Is that right? Alvarez has been out the waiting list for 3 months now. I thought arm transplants took priority over cornea. D. And we have the answer. Here's your clerical error. One of them bought CEC stock at the last purchase. One didn't. Guess which one was suddenly bumped up to vital personnel? It's not worth the headache to push back on it. Trust me. And before you think about filing an ethics complaint, just remember the wise words of Hippocrates. Shit rolls downhill. Zoe. Shit does, indeed, roll downhill. And again, we hear the name of CEC. And I will take my time on this round to give you a little something on CEC. Directly from the Dead Space EA official site. Corporation, CEC, powering humanity into the future. Headquartered on Earth, the Concordance Extraction Corporation, CEC, is a market leader in deep space mining and one of the largest corporations in known space. CEC has pioneered many mining and extraction techniques, but the company's most notable achievement is the development of Planet Cracker starships, capable of ripping apart entire worlds and harvesting their raw materials. Though planet cracking is controversial, a deadly accident known as the Wanat disaster cost CEC at least one of their prized ships. It also saved humanity. Earth and its colonies have been mined so dry that a series of bloody, desperate conflicts erupted over the remaining resources, known as the Resource Wars. However, the USG Ishimura and the rest of CEC's fleet provided enough raw materials to pull humanity back from the brink, and the Resource Wars have now subsided. CEC's mining operations continue to fuel humanity's expansion today. There are persistent rumors that CEC engages in illegal mining of restricted worlds, but the company's influence and deep pockets have kept most of its critiques quiet. That is what the official site tells us, and for now, that is all I'm going to tell all of you. Because if we go now in the deepest theories about CEC, we can get confused. And as I said, at this point in the game, we are meeting too much information, names, places, with too less to give us a real context about them. So we find ourselves confused and without exactly what is needed to understand every little single detail in the log. A great way to dodge these projectiles from the lurkers is to keep moving, because they, as I saw in the remake, they made the projectiles with some aim assist in some form. The 3 shots basically don't go straight, they're separate ways like in the original, but they follow you wherever you move before the shot is fired. So if you move from here to here and the shot is not detached from the tentacle, they will hit you because they have some form of tracking on them. Finally, we have our detonator and a power node. And here, a circuit breaker that, first of all, let's turn off the shock pad. That is what we need. Pick it up.
Daniels isn't answering her rig link. What's your status?
I found a shock pad I can use on the barricade. I'm heading back there now.
Watch the voltage on that pad. I'm not losing anyone else.
Find a shock pad finally has been completed, and planted the explosive charge is our new mission. First of all, let's read about the shock pad. A shock pad used to stimulate nerves in bioprosthetic limbs after transplant. Basically, it activates the nervous terminations present in limbs that are attached to the people that lose them. They literally clone babies, as we saw in the other room, to then cut off specific limbs lost by compatible people and that reattach them. There is a ethic problem in that, but I'm not one to discuss ethics. Planted the explosive charge. With the hydrazine and shock pad on hand, I should be able to rig an explosive charge to blow the barricade. Not only a clever engineer, also, most possibly, a pyromaniac. Because not everyone can manage to build an explosive from a shock pad and some gasoline. Well, maybe a lot of people can, but, you know, you wouldn't expect that out of a engineer. Necromorphs, tough as hell in Impossible. I don't know how many of you remember the previous episode, but I would like to talk about some things as soon as we are done with the explosive. That goes exactly here. Very nice that they show Isaac building the explosive this time around, and it makes sense that, yes, how do you make it explode? Well, just put the electric thing on the tank with gasoline in it, and trust me, it will explode. They also give you a simple little objective that is the explosive charge I've built will get me through the barricade, but I should get clear before I hit the trigger. It is take cover. It's not exactly... In the original, it just stands here and gets blinded, and the mesh of the three-dimensional objects disappears. It was 2008, but now you need to go around where this arrow is and enjoy the explosion. That does change the environment, like the glass. Beautiful. Well, I thought it was secure in the security room. No? I was wrong. It just got proved wrong. Before we go, little jump at the shop to upload the schematics. The pulse rounds are now unlocked. Stasis packs are now unlocked. And as you can see, are now available for purchase. Let's sell this. And we should be fine to go. Let's move one of these to storage, just in case we need them in another moment. And move on to reach the morgue. Our objective got updated again. The captain's body is in the morgue. Whatever killed him, it must have happened before the ship was overrun. I have to find him and retrieve his rig. And we are back to just retrieve the captain's rig. Now, as you can see, while this is still can't reach the morgue until I find a way through the barricade, here, scientific methods is now available to be followed. And we shall complete it for our 100% and to get more information. I always looked at this poster, seeing that the blonde woman resembles Nicole, while this guy and this guy we didn't see yet.
Remember, when you reach the morgue, find Captain Mathias's body. Get his rig codes, and the computer's all ours.
Sorry, we are full. Not the best of situations. A lot of writing. This. We already saw this symbol specifically. And a lot of people seems to be obsessed over this shape thing. All died.
Security clearance required.
Well, thank you. I didn't remember that was closed. Thank you very much. Don't open that door. Too late for that. Give them more hope. Give them hope. Give them strength. They'll last longer. And, of course, some imprecation. And here we have our first weapon upgrade. Plasma cutter upgrade. Bring upgrade parts to the bench to improve weapons and gear. I don't remember if we can read. Oh, yes, we can. A cartridge rack upgrade. Bring this part to the bench to extend the upgrade path and gain access to a special upgrade. Basically, every time you bring one of those to an upgrade bench, it gives you a little special node that we will see as soon as we get to a bench. Let's see if we have something to read on this pieces of paper. That is too little to be read. If some of you can read it, just write it down, maybe in the comments. Here we have Dear Altman as a name, maybe a member of the crew. And while to the morgue the road seems locked because of security clearance, what we have here is a horrid situation. A lot of bloodied beds, blood everywhere, closed boxes, of course. They wouldn't want us to have anything too early in the game. Medical log, Dr. B. Warwick, Chief Psych Officer. Report of psychiatric observation for patient Aris B. Employee and the employee number. The Harris patient we already heard from Dr. Kine, Dr. Mercer, and we know was under the care of Nicole. Harris is asleep after another dose of sedative. He seems literally unable to sleep without chemical aid. Most people succumb to exhaustion after more than 50 hours of waking, regardless of circumstances. Not Harris. His bizarre explanation of the events on the colony points to the same paranoia we've seen elsewhere planet-side. His guilt is not in doubt. 2 security officers were present when he took Dr. Sciarello hostage and murdered Nurse Evans, and Harris doesn't deny his actions, but he shows no remorse. In fact, he insists there was no crime, specifically that Evans wasn't a nurse when he killed her. This is classic sociopathic behavior, but Harris exhibits no other symptoms. He's affable and friendly, able to empathize and offer original opinions. When questioned about Evans's murder, however, he becomes withdrawn and uncommunicative. He claims the explanation is stuck in his mind, and that talking about it mixes up its message. He also undergoes intermittent hallucinatory periods, again similar to those experienced by other colonists. During his long waking periods, Harris exhibits writing behavior on any available surface, claiming the dreams need to speak, and that he is attempting to make it whole again. What that means, I haven't determined yet. Given the complexities of his case, I plan to reach out to my colleagues for more insight. Make it whole again. A phrase that Dead Space fans know very well. But if you did not play the original trilogy or are yet to play the remake, it's just gibberish from a psychopath, from what you know.
Loop and transmit all personnel. This is Senior Medical Officer Nicole Brennan. Medical is overwhelmed. We need help. Look at his wounds. We can't handle so many trauma cases, and the command crew won't tell us what's happening. He's seizing. Shit. Maybe I have some PHP left.
Follow Nicole's hologram. I found a recording of Nicole in the emergency room. It shows her running off, but there's nothing in that direction except a wall. Either the recording's broken or something else is going on here. I don't know how many of you already had the feel of Dead Space Remake, but this room in the original did not require any form of, changing anything or moving things. There was no secret areas. Just remove the battery from this place, putting it off, like this. Turning off all the lights. And then just put it here. But this choice opens this door that has a little symbol. Grip enabled. What that symbol means is that you can use kinesis to move it. And here we have a little room that wasn't in the original game. In any way. Not even an adjacent room, the one we were in. It just wasn't there.
Medical log, Dr. Nicole Brennan. So much for being paranoid. I repurposed this room to run counseling sessions without unitologists interfering. Now it's the only place I feel safe. I recovered a limb after yesterday's attack. Genetically, it's human tissue with bizarre mutations. But it's just a sample. It's not enough to figure out a cure. I need... Wait, where's that report from engineering? Here. The engineers pulled something out of machinery. Limbs missing, torso intact. Okay. Time for a real autopsy.
Very interesting. Objective inactive. Sadly, for now, our side objective needs to be stopped. So, looks like Nicole didn't exactly go silently about her disdain for unitologists, making herself a secret room so that she could have counseling sessions with her patients without any unitology members interfering. While I pick out this battery, I need to address a couple of things. Okay, maybe I will address them after we are done with this. You are pretty hard. Of course, we have just met lurkers, so they are going to give us lurkers that will last us days. Cut off. Okay. Nope. Nah. That was pretty dumb of me. Let's try secondary fire. Works. Beautiful. Oh, come on. Pretty hard, aren't you? You're pretty hard. Still someone? No? Okay. As I was saying, Nicole was being pretty adamant about studying the necromorphs. As much as trying to do an autopsy on one of them. Reaching for engineering to look for a corpse that, as the report said, was intact but without limbs. Maybe that was enough to, give something to study, while just a limb wasn't enough. Here we have all the beds with corpses and bodies and everything else that gives us an idea of what happened in medical. Different clearance doors that we cannot open. Holes. Huge holes. Okay. That didn't work as well as I planned it to. And it looks like the proximity mine is just the best thing after a plasma cutter. That is absolutely impossible. I did not expect that to work this good. Surprising. If you go around here, now our objective is through that door. But if we go around here, people usually just go straight for the objective. But I tend to find pleasure in my explorations. So, looking here, apart from necromorph party, that isn't exactly the funniest of parties to attend, we get an extra text log. And this time, it is an audio log. I remember wrong, because in the original it was a text log. Now it's an audio log. They did do those changes as well.
It's Terrence Kine. You were in surgery, so I left this with Warwick. He'll be discreet. I just got the latest report from Aegis 7. The situation's worse than Captain Matthias will admit. 40% of the colony's population is now showing symptoms. Depression, hallucinations, more violence. People are dying down there. I know it's linked to the marker somehow, but I just don't have enough data. Or, sir, maybe I was wrong. We need answers by any means possible. That patient, Brent Harris, might be our last hope.
Again, we are back to talking about this Brent Harris that killed a nurse and took a doctor hostage while on the colony.
Security request retrieved.
You left me. I woke in the dark with them scratching in the walls. Scratching like rats. And you all locked me in with them. Fuckers. I'll cut them out. I'll cut them out. I'll cut them out.
Well, a lot of people are going mad. No need to ask about that. We saw someone banging his head until he died on the glass. And here we have another survivor. We had 2 survivors. Yep. Isaac's reaction is the right one. Especially if you assist to something like that. Of course, I suppose some of the YouTube stuff won't appreciate that scene, especially. But it's part of the game, and I want everyone to see everything about the game. Even things like that. Moving on with our objective, we should be close to reaching the morgue. Let's have a little save. Just in case everything goes wrong. I remind you, we cannot die. We are playing at impossible. Oh, okay. Everything's good. As you can see, the remake is a lot more scenic. Scenic? Cinematic. If you look at the original and do a confrontation. No, I need the plasma cutter for you. Okay, nope. Again, I cannot for the love of me do entertaining commentary when I don't have a piece of information or theorization to bring about. For now, we don't have that much information, but we are going to the morgue and we know the captain is dead. We did see the captain having a conversation with Dr. Kine in his office. No oxygen needed. Let's heal. And finally the morgue. Very different from the original one. Maybe the shape in general and the bed positions are the same, but everything else, that is the same. That happened in the original as well. But some things are just completely wrong. More writing. And one of the wronger things is exactly there. This room had the door closed. And right there, we have our captain, Benjamin Matthias. That has his little cute section in the EA official site for the remake. And that is Captain Matthias. Captain Benjamin Matthias is overseeing the USG Ishimura's final planet crack at Aegis 7. A practical man with no patience for fools. Matthias is also a fervent unitologist, as we saw by his talk with Kain, who holds his duty to the church equal to his responsibilities as the Ishimura's captain. Basically a man that, even if the section says as an equal, gives an equal importance to both his position in the church and his role as captain, I will dare to say he does not regard the importance of being a captain more than being a member of the church. He does give more importance to the church. Let's get his rig. And let's meet a new form of necromorph as well. Assisting firsthand to a mutation. Absolutely disgusting. A spectacular thing to look at in the remake. Absolutely stunning. That we are looking at, that I so easily just exploded out of existence, was a new form of infection called an infector. And an infector does not have a log from Dr. Mercer, but what it does have is a section on the fandom wiki, and says, formed from a human torso and legs, its wings are formed by a flap of skin from the chest and then fused between the former host's bent and broken legs. The jaw collapses within the body, and the rest of the head breaks and twists into its proboscis and feelers, with the spine providing support and attachment points for articulation or movement. The proboscis, which is made from mutated bone, muscle, and spinal tissue, is the delivery mechanism for the pure necromorph tissue used to infect new hosts. This is done by enveloping the host in its wings, extending the proboscis from the spinal cavity, and then stabbing it into the skull to inject a yellow fluid stored in an internal bladder. In any room with the remains of crew members, these are the beasts that should be taken down quickly before you get overrun with newly created necromorphs. These form of infection are called infectors, and while slashers, leapers, and lurkers are basically created to make bodies to infect, infectors are the ones that go around killing and infecting everything that is already killed. So slashers, leapers, lurkers prepare bodies. The infectors, although are made to infect dead bodies, are also capable of the attacks. They can slash with both their proboscis or the claws that are present in the tips of their wings. Let's see if we get some information. I need to retrieve the captain's rig from the morgue. Nicole walked here on the medical deck. If there's any sign of her, it'll be here. Finally, we get the captain's rig.
What's your status? Do you have the captain's rig?
Fuck me! Ugh. Transmitting codes now. I saw it, Hammond. A flying one turned the captain's body into another one of those things. The same must have happened to Chen.
God. Maybe the command computer has something. Where's Daniels when you need her? Head back to the security checkpoint. It's safer there. At least I can upgrade your clearance.
Retrieve the captain's rig completed. Go to security station. Finally, security clearance is now level 1. Security clearance. Your security clearance has increased. Higher clearance doors and lockers are now available. This means that every single possible level 1 clearance door and or locker is for us. Go. Meaning there will be backtracking to be done. Not now, but in another moment, yes, it will be needed. Now, before I pick up the text log, I will leave that to the start of the next episode. Hellgads, thank you very much for watching, and as I always say, I'll meet you all again quando torneremo a guardare le stelle. See you next episode.